Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. We are one day late, but the shock to see Strakosha start was really something we had to get used to it. So we needed an extra day to talk about this, Alistair McKenzie. And yesterday was the birthday of Alistair. So he was a little bit busy, right, Alistair?
Yes, sorry about that. But yeah, like you say, just still still had my back against the wall in astonishment at Thomas Strakosha being selected, and lo and behold, making some saves. I mean, it was something I never thought I would see again, unless your goalkeeper making good saves. So yeah, good couple of days, all in all.
Yeah. It's something weird, right? Seeing a yo goalkeeper making stops, that's something we weren't used to anymore. But Sarri never spoke about this, neither before or after the match. So we don't know if this is a one-time solution, if it's definitely who's going to play Thursday, because Thursday there is a very important Europa League match against Galatasaray. Lazio have to win. Will now Reina be the cup goalkeeper, or will Strakosha play both Serie A and Europa League? What's your take, Alistair?
Well, it would be nice if that was kind of the game where Strakosha was reselected and essentially, retakes his place as the number one, considering that it would be going full circle from the first game against Galatasaray, which was probably the lowest moment of Strakosha's Lazio career when he made that horrible mistake in Turkey. Um, I would expect him to play just because he's been the cup keeper so far. And he deserves to. There's no denying that he deserves to keep his place after his performance in the second half against Sampdoria. So I don't know. I can't imagine it's going to be the end of Reina. I don't think it's that simple. I think Sarri said something before the match about the changes he made to his team, because of course it wasn't just Strakosha, about Basic, but Zaccagni coming in as well. And he did mention how just with so many games coming so thick and fast, you do need to make these changes. I don't know if he meant with the goalkeepers or not, but we'll soon find out.
Yes, and we have to talk even about the other players you were mentioning, because a lot of fans weren't sure that Zaccagni would be able to play in the 4-3-3 of Maurizio Sarri. Well, I think Sunday we have the answer, right? We had the answer we were hoping for. Amazing performance from Zaccagni. Not only the two assists, but I thought overall he had a great match. And finally starting, I thought he had a huge impact in this match. And this can be the beginning of Zaccagni's story with Lazio.
Yeah, he played like a player with a point to prove. I thought, he came into the game with real energy and enthusiasm and wanted to be on the ball as much as possible, trying to make things happen. And yeah, I think the kind of creativity that we saw from him is a real bonus, because it has felt like sometimes we're relying too much on certain players in the team to be able to provide that. And from the wing, we've not really been getting an awful lot of that from Felipe Anderson recently, while his form's been down. But Zaccagni, coming into this team, setting up 2 goals. And I just thought, like you say, his all-in-all performance was excellent. It's great to finally feel like we've got a third valid alternative. But I don't know about you. I thought he also just looked a bit fitter. I mean, he's obviously struggled with that since he arrived at the club, but he looked quicker and sharper and fitter than he has done in previous matches, I thought.
Well, I thought that even in the other matches, the last couple of matches where he came in, I thought he had some good performance. You can see that he was improving. As Sarri mentioned, it was all down to physical condition. He has been injured a lot, twice since he joined Lazio, and he needed time to recover, to find his form. And I thought you could see it, that he was ramping up. And I was hoping that he could start Sunday against Sampdoria, because, as you mentioned, Felipe Anderson wasn't playing great. On the other side, Zaccagni was improving, so it looked like very natural the fact that players swap. Zaccagni started and Felipe Anderson coming from the bench. So yeah, it's really promising because I mean Felipe Anderson, Pedro played pretty much for 2 months in a row because Zaccagni was out injured. And now having Zaccagni back, it's very important because again, till Christmas, Lazio will play every 3 days. Thursday there's an important match, then Sunday again very important, and there's still Christmas. So Lazio need all the players available. And Alistair, this is just the second win away in Serie A this season. The first one came the first day of the season against Empoli. So it was about time to finally win again
Yeah.
away. And we can talk about Sampdoria's not playing great football, etc. But still, that was a very encouraging win, especially the first half. I thought probably the best first half of the season so far.
Yeah, first half was excellent. Absolutely blew them away. It was kind of like it reminded me a lot of the Roma Inter game the night before. It was similar kind of level of utter dominance from one team. It's a shame they didn't quite manage to make it a 90-minute performance if we're splitting hairs about it. It's also a shame to not get a clean sheet because they've
Yeah.
been so rare this season that it would have been nice not only for Strakosha coming back in, but for the team as a whole. And I think that would have been, an achievable second half goal when the game's already pretty much won. You can set that as your target for the half. But clearly they dropped off a bit in the second half. But first half, superb. I mean, that's seeing Lazio really at their best under Sarri when they're like that. I saw quite a few comments on social media around that time of people saying they thought that was the best they'd seen Lazio under Sarri
Yeah.
since he arrived. I mean, would you agree with that? Would you go that far?
I had the same impression. The first, because even in the derby, we played well, but I would say the first 42 minutes, when Roma scored, Lazio lost a little bit of confidence. The first half against Samp was great. And I don't want to be bad, but Alistair, I thought that the second half, Lazio played worse because Chiro came out and Murici came in. I was thinking that this was a huge chance for Murici because Lazio had playing very well. Sampdoria should have attacked, so he had time and space to do something. Instead, his performance wasn't great. Honestly, he had to get the ball, keep it, and make the team lose time, right? And attack. He wasn't able to do it most of the time. And yeah, I thought I wouldn't blame only him, but I thought that the reason why the second half of Lazio didn't play as well, I think it's due to Murici most of all. And well, the red card we're gonna talk later.
Yeah, I was going to say I think there's there's someone else that we can point to as well because I felt bad for Murici more than anyone really when Sergei got the red card because his chances of really being able to make an impact is so rare for him to get full half of football in a Lazio shirt, and it was really a free shot for him. Pressure off, game's already won. Um, it seemed like perfect circumstances for him if he's ever going to put in a performance to do that. But it's going to be very difficult for him once Lazio are down to 10 men. I know what you mean. Maybe in those circumstances you need more of that from him, more of the hold up play and being a reference point for the 10 men for the way of kind of keeping the ball or building the attacks that way. So that's disappointing, but I would say far more disappointing was Milinkovic-Savic's the way he got sent off. It just seems so utterly pointless. Like I said at the time, is one thing getting sent off for dissent, which I think is always the stupidest way of getting sent off. It's so avoidable. But then when you're captaining the team at the time, on top of that, and then on top of that, when you're 3-0 up with half an hour left, what's the point? What is the point in saying things to the referee that are going to get you the second yellow? I mean, whether or not what he said was bad enough to merit it, he just shouldn't really be saying anything.
And I agree with you, but we have to say that before there was a clear foul on Milinkovic, and that wasn't only a foul; it was even a yellow card, and he was close to the ref. And these type of mistakes are simply unacceptable. And if the ref doesn't make that mistake, Milinkovic obviously doesn't get the red card. So there's a part of mistake from the ref we have to point out. But as you were saying, you're 3-0 up. Sampdoria had 10 minutes at the beginning of the second half where they pushed hard, but they didn't score. The match is slowly going to the end without any problematic, I would say. Why don't you shut up and, maybe have a laugh and go away? I mean, this red card is silly, very silly. I agree with you. And the problem is not that he's put the team in trouble last Sunday. We were one man down. But next Sunday, Milinkovic won't be available. We're playing Sassuolo, if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Away. Sassuolo has always been a tough match for Lazio. And the match was over. And now we're going to miss you in the next match. So, really, silly mistake from Milinkovic-Savic, who, again, is not a youngster. Is not 19. He's the captain now. And he shouldn't make this type of mistake, especially because he was playing pretty well.
Yeah, well, exactly. I was going to say is that made it extra frustrating because, we spoke quite recently about feeling that he wasn't at his best and we wanted to see better form from him. But, he followed up that amazing goal he scored against Udinese with another really, really good goal this time around. I think making him the Lazio's highest scoring midfielder ever. Is that right? I'm sure I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
So, it's all the conditions are there for him to really come out of that game with great praise and feeling like he's kind of back to his best. So hugely frustrating. The Sassuolo game, in my opinion, is the hardest one we've got before the winter break. So losing your, best player essentially for that match is a big blow, and it's especially a big blow considering how avoidable it was. Yeah. But then again, what will be an even bigger blow to move on to that question is Ciro Immobile. If the problem that saw him leave the pitch at halftime is worse than feared. Because we've already seen this season, haven't we, what it's like when Ciro's not playing, and we don't like it.
Not at all. Not at all. I think we had 0 goals scored, right, without Ciro. So it's tough. And again, Alistair, this leads me to the other question. Would you risk Ciro Immobile next Thursday against Galatasaray? For people who doesn't know, Lazio need to win this match. If Lazio win, they are top of the group. If Lazio doesn't win, we are qualified, but we will play against a Champions League team, the team relegated from the Champions League, and we have an extra 2 matches. And if I'm not wrong, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund are going down, so it could be challenging to play against a Champions League team. So Thursday is a very important match. Would you risk him against Galatasaray, or would you prefer to rest him? And if you have to risk, play him against Sassuolo, that again, it's an important match as well.
I just don't think you can take any risks with Ciro. I mean, he's just too important to this team. I mean, the Sampdoria game was an example of that in a nutshell, really. Lazio, brilliant in the first half. 3 goals, 2 of them coming from Ciro, clearly, but the whole team just played a lot better with him on the pitch than after he left the pitch. And we've seen that previously as well when... Oh, God, what was the game now that I'm thinking of where we had Pedro and Felipe Anderson and Marici all tried through the middle and none of it really worked?
Juventus?
Juventus, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, I mean, I think he's too important to this team to take risks around injuries. I mean, you just have to hope that they're as sensible as they can be about that, because if it comes down to the player will always say they want to play. But this is the problem with not having, valid alternatives, like we always say. I mean, if we
I
had
don't think
another
Ramsey would.
number nine who could stand in for him, we wouldn't have as much of an issue with this. But
Yeah,
we do.
I agree. I agree, but I don't believe every player would say I will play. Ramsey doesn't look like a player who,
Well, yeah,
if
that's a
injured, he's looking
great
to play.
example.
But yeah, Chiro is that type of player, unfortunately, and he played throughout the season and last season when injured, when a lot of players would have simply say, "Hey, I'm not fit, uh, I'm not ready to play." So I don't know. It's so important, though, Alistair. I think, and I don't know if you agree with me. Thursday is much more important than the Sunday match because I don't want to say that the Champions League race is over, but it's quite complicated. We are 9 points behind Atalanta. Atalanta's flying five wins in a row. Uh, it's complicated to reach the
I'll,
Champions League.
I'll say it for you if you want. I think it's over.
So uh, to reach the fifth place or the Europe League position, we can even draw against Sassuolo away, but we need to win against Galatasaray. And I think, and I don't know what our listener thinks about that this could be the season where Alistair, we can focus on the Europe League instead of the Serie A. As we mentioned, Champions League is pretty over. I mean, I'm not saying Lazio has a chance to win the Europe League because there's Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, and so on, but we could go deeper, and you never know. Barcelona doesn't look a great team. Maybe they lose next match. Same thing, Borussia. Maybe they focus on something else. So, yeah, for me, if I have to pick, I would risk Cheeto on Thursday.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, it's you are if it's one or the other. If it is that simple an equation where it's basically one thing, you can only play them in one match, then I guess it is in your kind of long-term interest in Serie A as well. This is a thing to play him on the Thursday, because if that massively increases your chances of winning that game, it means you've got fewer
Matches, yeah.
interruptions in February. So
Yeah.
that is in the long-term interest. It's the thing that is complained about the most this season. I mean, almost every press conference I'm having to cover at the moment, the coach is asked about the fixtures and the fixture list. And Sarri is constantly talking about it and constantly complaining about the fact he doesn't ever really get to coach his team. So I think finding a way to alleviate that even slightly would be massive. You just have to weigh up. I think for me, the concern is more if he has to play with strapping or if he has to play with painkillers or something, and then they make the injury worse and you lose him for longer. That's a complete disaster.
Absolutely.
Because even this run between now and the winter break, you can damage your. We've already, in my opinion, lost the top four completely, but you can damage your hopes of finishing even top six in this run if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. Alistair, it's nearly 20 minutes we start this pod. We still didn't mention Basic. I thought great performance from Tomas Basic. Again, this was just the second start in Serie A. Second, he started against Inter and we won. The only team in Serie A to beat Inter. Let's not forget about that. And we played very well against Sampdoria. We are not the only team who beat Sampdoria, but still, that was a good first half. Sarri, after the match, praised Basic, said that he's a very great player. He has a bright future. I really like this player, and I think he can play either with Milinkovic Savic or Luis Alberto. And yeah, I think this could be. I would rate at the moment Pedro the best signing of the season, but for the future, Basic could definitely be best signing of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Really impressed with him on Sunday. I think there was a couple of moments in the first half that I remember where a Sampdoria player was kind of like breaking into the Lazio half, and all of a sudden Basic was back there making the challenge or making the interception. And I remember just thinking, this is exactly what we talked about after the Napoli game, after the Udinese game, where there has been that enormous hole in the pitch where none of our midfielders are. And all of a sudden, we had a guy who was covering that position, who was capable of obviously he can get up the pitch and can contribute in an attacking sense. But I think he does properly go box to box and
Yes.
help out the defense. And boy, oh boy, does this defense need helping. So that's really promising. I think the combination of having him there helping the defense and having Strakosha in goals who actually stops stuff um, made for a much better. I mean, I say a much better defensive performance. We didn't concede 4 goals for the first time in a while, so the bar was pretty low with what constitutes a better defensive performance.
You know what I would say? It's funny. I think we allowed more shot on targets against Sampdoria than against Udinese. The only difference is we pretty much stopped every of them except one. So, I don't know if our defense played better. Probably our goalkeeper did and stopped a couple of very good saves, especially in the second half. But yeah, even with Acerbi and Luis Felipe back, I think we struggle against not a very competitive team. So defensive wise, we still had struggle, but overall, I thought that was an encouraging performance. And looking forward, you can see Sarri a little bit changing and adapting. We saw Cataldi now starting every time instead of Leva. Now we saw Zaccagni finally starting, Basic finally starting. I think he's getting a more grip on the team, who is better for his 4-3-3 now that the match is going on. So this is important. The other thing I wanted to mention, Alistair, at the moment, there are only 3 managers that are complaining about the fixture. Sarri, Klopp, and Guardiola, and Bielsa. 3 managers that like to play football, like to teach their players. I think managers like Allegri, they really don't care how many match they play, because they don't use training to give their team an idea of football. So this is where Lazio probably is more damaged by this fixture, right?
Well, I mean, Allegri was complaining about it the other day, as was Pioli. I mean, I think everyone complains about it. But yeah, I mean, I do agree in the sense that I think it's more important to coaches like Sarri, coaches who basically really value the time spent with the players on the training ground. And that's, like I've said before, I think if it was up to Sarri, that's where he would spend all his time. He just loves coaching players. I mean, if it was up to him, he would be happily doing that for hours and hours every single day. But he's not really getting the opportunity, because I think Pioli said the other day, when you have this many games, you're basically, flying away for a European game. You don't get back until 2 or 3 in the morning. Then you have to get up and maybe train the next day, but often you just have to rest, because then the day after that you've already got a game coming up, and you can't really, afford to be trying to fit training sessions in. So it's basically trying to keep everyone in a position of fitness and conditioning that they can play these games is taking up most of the challenge, rather than actually drilling tactical shape into these players, or strategies and so on, that just going to take a while for it to work.
And it's not a coincidence that Milan is full of injuries. And we're missing the plane, Alistair, because last year, at least with the plane, we could fly back immediately after the European competition. For example, last week, we played that last week in Russia, or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. But when we played Russia, instead of flying back Thursday night, Lazio flew back Friday at lunchtime. So, they arrive at Rome around 6 o'clock, and they lose pretty much a day of training. So this is another important, valid point, right? If your international match is far away from home, then you lose even the day afterwards. So this is another thing that people have to remember, especially when you're playing on Europe League, that you play on Thursday. You have Friday that you're pretty much resting. And most of the time, Lazio's playing Sunday, not even Monday. So they have one day less. And this obviously has a huge impact on the performance of the team.
Lotito Airways didn't last very long, did it?
No, doesn't look like.
I mean, they made such a song and dance about it. Luis Alberto complained about it, and then within less than a year, it's gone. So it's all a bit strange. Do you know what happened? Why
Well,
the deal is no longer in
well,
place?
I think it was a 1 year loan, and the second year the price wasn't right for Lazio, and they didn't renew it. Basically, I think the impact of COVID-19 was huge, so
Well,
Lazio Lazio didn't have enough money to keep going it. So that's the issue again. But
back on the Frecciarossa then.
yeah, yeah, I can see Frecciarossa to Moscow. You have to start on Monday, right, to arrive on time. It will take a little bit of time. Um, Galatasaray on Thursday, Sassuolo on Sunday. Two very important match. We didn't mention against Udinese, the stadium was pretty much empty. Uh, Thursday is a very important match. Unfortunately, at the moment, we are pretty much the same numbers of last Thursday against Udinese, which is a big problem because, again, this will be a very important match. It's true that biggest difference between Lazio and Roma. Roma made the season tickets, and there was like a Black Friday deal, like €7 for the next couple of matches, while only the match against Galatasaray is 20 euros the Curva Nord. So, and it's the cheapest one. So this doesn't help fans. But come on, guys, this is really the first final of the season. It's the final. Lazio need to win. If they don't, the season changes. So very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I, I know a lot of clubs have had issues like this season, and actually, I think this weekend covering the Serie A games, it was more noticeable, I thought, than any other weekend I can remember in terms of the emptiness of stadiums. Sassuolo's ground, hardly anyone in there. Sampdoria against Lazio, there's hardly anyone in there either. I know they've got fans who are protesting, I think, and refusing to go to the ground, but attendances have been low. Clubs have been struggling to convince people to get back in, and I don't know. It does seem though with Lazio, the answer to this problem is just getting some sort of season ticket um, package available. It, it happens. It's a pretty common thing to do a half season ticket, for example. I mean, I really hope
Or
after the
even,
winter break something like that
even
emerges.
even three tickets, for the next three matches,
Yeah,
because Lazio
and
complains say we don't know if they're gonna close down the stadium again or reduce from 75% to 50, etc. Okay, but do it at least for the next three matches. It's not gonna change. Do it, or like Roma did. Do a Black Friday initiative. Next matches, 50% discount. They're not doing nothing. So uh, it's hard because I'm pretty sure that in the first 2 months I paid the same amount that a season ticket would cost me for the Curva Nord. So in just 2 months I paid the normal fee. So not everybody can allow this, can afford this. So this is a big problem, especially Alistair, because Buffon said when Juventus was going to play against Celtic that he never saw a fan scoring a goal. But we have to say that fans are important for this club. Just look the performance of Lazio at home and away, right? At home, Lazio lost just one match. Away, we hardly won two matches. So the impact of the fans is huge, is massive. So having more fans, it's an advantage. It's not like uh, a disadvantage for the team. So the club should be
yeah,
helping that. In fact, instead, they're doing exactly the opposite.
and the other thing is, it's not like they're not there. It's not like they don't exist. As much as my Roma supporting friends like to say it is, because we saw that already in the 1920 season. The last time we had a normal season before all this COVID stuff started. I remember the last game. I was at the last game before the lockdown, which was against Bologna, and there was over 40,000, I think, at that game. Big games like the Juve match were sellouts, over 60,000. So, and yes, okay, last year we're absolutely flying then, and perhaps success helps you bring in
Yeah.
more people. But these, there are the numbers available. There are enough Lazio fans around that they should be getting a hell of a lot more people in than the number they currently are.
Yes, which is again disappointing. Again, I reiterate, Thursday it's a final, so we need the support of the fans. And yes, it's gonna be a very important match. I repeat, for me, it's much more important Thursday than Sunday. Unfortunately, um, I get the impression, Alistair, that the top four will be finishing like that. I don't know if in the same position, but I think that Inter, Milan, Napoli, and Atalanta will finish top four this season. So we're really fighting for the fifth and sixth place. So going further on the Europe League would be a great achievement and could be really the goal of the season so far. So let's focus on the Europe League for the moment. I think obviously this doesn't mean that we don't have to win Thursday. I would love to win even Thursday, but focusing on Europe League if that's the top priority. And again, Alistair, if Immobile doesn't start, what's your option? Who would you? How would you play it? Murishi, Pedro, or something else?
Well, I saw, there is the argument that Murici likes playing Turkish opposition. He made his name at Fenerbahce, so he must have done something right against Turkish teams in the past. So maybe this is his moment. Maybe against a familiar old foe from his time at Fenerbahce, we'll see the best from him. We've not seen an awful lot to suggest that's
No.
imminently about to happen. But yeah, if it's not Immobile, yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, maybe Murici. Maybe we just give him one last roll of the dice. Give him the first half at least and see what happens.
Yeah, also because I don't know if I would start Felipe Anderson or Pedro. I think one of them needs to rest. They are quite tired. Felipe Anderson in the last month was terrible. So Zaccagni starts. Obviously, I thought he's in great shape. He rested a lot at the beginning of the season, so he needs to start now. But yeah, it's a tough decision. Again, I would try Murishi. At least give him 45 minutes, and then if in the first half doesn't work, then we have time to change and do something else. But yeah, it's hard to to predict without Ciro Immobile, and this is the biggest weakness, and this is the top priority for January, Alistair. I don't know if you agree with me. Finding a solution for the Vice Immobile. If it's not Murishi, we have to replace him with someone worthy, someone good, someone that Sarri trusts. This is for me the top priority for this winter.
Yeah, I mean,
Or the
it's
defender.
hard. Exactly, it's hard to identify what is the one priority if you have to say one because there are problems everywhere you look, basically. So yeah, I still really think we need another centre back. I think that's a big problem as well. But yeah, I think the team suffers as a whole probably more when Chiro's not there than anything else. So you do need a valid alternative. Yeah.
I think also because he's a leader of this team, and when he's in on the pitch, you can feel his presence. So this is probably another point that most of the people doesn't realize, and so this is why Cheeto is so important. But there have been rumors that Johnny, Vavro, and Escalante have been linked to other teams. So maybe we will be able to sell them on January, and this should bring us money to sign someone else. Again, we hope.
Probably get about 150 million. Do you think for those three?
Yeah, nearly there. Yeah, absolutely. I think Neymar is coming. But and Lukaku. Let's not forget we still have Jordan Lukaku with us, and yeah, let's see if we can place him as well. But yeah, we have plenty of time to talk about winter transfer. Again, thank you again, Alistair, for joining me. Again, thanks everybody for listening to us. Remember, we are on Twitch. Subscribe to our Twitch channel, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, wherever you love to listen to your podcast. We are there. And you can support us on patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at just $2 a month. We'll be back as soon as possible, probably after Lazio Galatasaray, again with the birthday boy, Alistair McKenzie.
Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.